Hi everyone, my name is Mason Heislip, and today I'm going to be talking about something that nobody has ever talked about ever. I'm going to be talking about Martin Scorsese and his views on superhero movies. And also about Chapter 3, which is types of movies. So, let's get into it. I'm wearing my Avenger shirt right now. Looks cool, right? I also have all this superhero stuff next to me because I'm going to be talking about them. Okay, so back in 2019, director Martin Scorsese, he's known for a bunch of movies. He did an interview with Empire magazine, and he said that superhero movies or comic book movies are, quote, theme park rides, and that they are not cinema. Whatever that means. He says, honestly, the closest I can think of them, as well made as they are, with actors doing the best they can do under the circumstances, is theme parks. It isn't the cinema of human beings trying to convey emotional, psychological experiences to another human being. At face value, that does not seem good, right? Basically, after people heard that, they went nuts about it. And a couple months later, he made an article for the New York Times titled, ready? Martin Scorsese, I said Marvel movies aren't cinema. Let me explain. Pretty awesome title for an article, if you ask me. To sum up the article, he basically said that while his argument still stands on the fact that superhero movies are theme park rides and that they're not cinema, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad films. They just don't fit the mold or like the criteria of what he looks for in a movie, right? It's actually really funny because he compares Strangers on a Train and Psycho to theme park rides. Which, first of all, that sounds crazy. But secondly, he compares them because the intent of those films is to entertain the audience. Especially for Psycho. He says that people went to the theater and they weren't disappointed. You could say that again. And then he hits us with this quote. He says, many of the elements that define cinema as I know it are in Marvel pictures. What's not there is revelation, mystery, or genuine emotional danger. Nothing is at risk. The pictures are made to satisfy a specific set of demands, and they are designed as variations on a finite number of themes. Yeah. He then touches on film franchises and that it's hard to compete with them, such as Marvel and DC. And then when he told Empire his take, people grabbed onto the they're not cinema part and disregarded everything else he said and just ran with it. And then after that, he felt the need to defend himself with the article. Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm going to be talking about Chapter 3, which is types of films. We watched The Imposter in class during that chapter, so that was really good, by the way. So there's 3 pillars of movies, right? Every movie can be traced back to these 3. There's narrative, documentary, and experimental. Superhero movies fall under narrative, right? I do want to get into genre a little bit because I think it's very interesting for the superhero world. Superhero movies are science fiction. Oftentimes characters have superpowers. Sometimes the setting isn't Earth, things are not normal, right? Oftentimes you see that in sci-fi films. Then there's also a lot of like cliches in superhero movies. My favorite one is the whole I'm a superhero, but I want to keep it a secret, right? So I'm going to keep lying to everyone around me, everyone that I care about, so I can protect them, right? Because if they find out that I'm a superhero, then they might get hurt, they might get killed. And I don't want that, right? So I'm going to push everyone away from me in hopes that they don't get hurt. That one's my favorite one, I think. Yeah, a lot of superhero movies use that cliche, and I love it. I am a sucker for a good I'm a superhero but I need to keep it a secret type of story. That one always gets me. Another really funny cliche is the whole we need to save the city thing. but the city is in fact not saved or is safe. I'm talking about like the first Avengers movie where like the sky opens up and aliens drop down from it. And I'm also talking about movies like Man of Steel where buildings are like falling on people. Another good one is Age of Ultron when Sokovia flies away. So yeah, so here are my personal opinions about the whole Scorsese movie debate, right? It's kind of a cop-out answer, I'm sorry, but I agree with him, kind of. He doesn't mean to do this, right? But he kind of generalizes the whole genre and calls them theme park rides and not cinema and all that, right? And I don't think that's true, right? Not every movie is trying to be this deep and meaningful story. However, I do agree with him on the sense of there are some movies, superhero movies, that instead of focusing on telling deep and meaningful stories, it's more along the lines of, okay, how can we set up the next movie? That his take on that I do agree with. And then when he touches on like theaters and how hard it is for movies and studios that don't have a $1 billion franchise that prints them money, how hard it is to compete with movie franchises and studios that do, like Marvel and DC. Like when a new franchise film comes out, like a Marvel movie, like a DC movie, Star Wars, Fast and Furious, you name it, right? People gravitate to, in my opinion, people gravitate towards those types of movies because they're used to it, right? We know what we're getting ourselves into. I mean, look at the highest grossing movies ever, right? According to Box Office Mojo, Titanic is currently number 4, and Avatar is number 1, right? Those are the only original films in like the top 10 list that aren't connected to a bigger storyline or universe or whatever. You could even make the case for Titanic not being original, because it actually happened. Yeah, so to dial it back a little bit, with Scorsese's take, these are clearly not his types of movies, right? This man is 81 years of age. Okay, you have to remember that, you know? I don't think he's itching to see the next Ant-Man movie, okay? This is clearly not his cup of tea, and these are clearly not the movies that he grew up with. So how does Scorsese's takes on superhero movies fit into Chapter 3? Well, because they're cinema. They're just not his cinema. They're just like every other type of movie, right? Like I said before, not every movie, not every comic book movie is trying to be like The Godfather, but there are some pretty freaking awesome stories with people with capes. You just gotta look in the right spots, okay?